progress, all of a sudden you're like, wow, now I've really shortened up my calendar, and that can be more difficult. I find, especially because somebody, whether they're experienced or not, if they're just going into prep mode, their excitement, motivation is high. Hunger is lower because the body composition, favors the back. You're not quite in that state yet. Regulating gets you to the set point. So it is a time that you can get kind of a quicker start. They get excited seeing those numbers fall, and then even if you have to add a little bit of food, I find that that's better than having to rapidly start taking away food and having lost that time.
I was just going to say that before, because I learned that a little bit from you when you did that with me. I don't know if it was on purpose, but I was excited when I got more food.
Right.
It was like,
man, you're doing so great. We got to add food already.
Yeah, it was pumped, and so that helped me keep going for another.
Well, and there, a question I often get is how quickly should we be adjusting, or how big of an adjustment should we be making? And I do think there's such a thing as making too small of an adjustment, where you're just making changes to the metabolic rate, but you're not actually in a big enough deficit to see fat loss. So yeah, that's definitely something that comes with experience.
So let's talk about macros, and the first thing I think we probably all look at in establishing that profile is protein. That's an easy thing to just establish and get out of the way. So one of the things that we explain in Tier 1 is that number one is probably one of the most clear, well-studied things in the nutrition industry is protein recommendation. So we know what the RDA is, and then we also know that there are multipliers for that people have studied to say, well, the RDA might be what we need to kind of survive and stay alive and not have any protein deficit issues, but what's the real level to thrive for anybody? And then what are the limits we can push for anabolic environments and for the sheer fact that we're going to be reducing calories, we're going to be in a deficit, we're going to be training hard, so we want to buffer against metabolism. So what I lay out in the book is that most science agencies have really circled around the number 2 times the RDA is what's really most effective as a baseline. So the RDA may be for a general population person who's never dieted before, they really can't reach much higher than that as a protein threshold. That may be a place to start moving them up from. But even for that Gen Pop person, 2 times the RDA is kind of the baseline. I think that's probably the basement for an aggressively dieting physique client. And there is now enough study, I believe, in literature to say 3 times the RDA is probably a safer ceiling. And there have been a couple studies showing that even 3.5 and more can be effective for some people some of the time. But there haven't been any studies, at least that I've seen, that show, oh yeah, if you go 3.5 or 4 or 5 times the RDA, now you really get better results. So it seems to be that 3 times the RDA is probably about a good average stopping point with some exceptions. So how do you guys feel about that?
Is there certain body types that you would recommend with a higher protein intake?
That's where you then you have to decide, is more protein helpful or more carbs, whether you're an ectomorph or an endomorph or somewhere in between. And just like we talked about with calories, like when is your best play to take things away or add? I feel that we still can benefit from having a little bit of a cushion, some protein in our back pocket. So I'll give you an example. A client of mine who is, in the last couple of weeks, he started prepping for a show. And I said, okay, your off-season levels of protein have been here. Now we're going to a calorie deficit. I'm going to leave your protein here, but the first thing I'm going to increase when we need a calorie increase is going to be from protein. Because gradually, as we move calories and or fat down a little bit, carbs or fat down, I want to have 1 or 2 times through this prep process where we can still elevate protein a little bit, just in case, and be okay with it. If I start out at the maximum level of protein, I've kind of blown that opportunity to have that. But I do think, especially again, as body composition is higher, as body fat is higher, when somebody's starting out at 12 or 15% as a male, higher for female, they just don't need that protein cushion yet. But how do you feel about that, Paul?
Yeah, it's something I've definitely experimented more with over the last few years. Keeping protein higher as someone's getting leaner. Protein is typically just very voluminous. It also, as I found out this last year through studying, eating protein actually releases the highest satiety level of all the macronutrients. So if you can increase protein a little bit, which is very difficult to store as body fat, you get a little more food volume, a little more satiety, you might get a little better adherence from your athletes. So there's definitely, I think, more wiggle room with protein than probably any of the other macronutrients. And a lot of it can come down to preference of the athlete. Do you really like protein? Do you really like eating a higher protein approach? And if they're open to that, then that's something that you should definitely consider.
I always have a standard of my lowest amount that I go to, depending on the type of person, their personality, and what they like. If they tend to favor carbs a lot, I'll try and give them a little bit more carbs initially to bring protein down a little bit. But as long as their basement level is met, that's what I really focus on. But I tell them, just like you said, is hey, I want to bring up protein eventually. Carbs are going to come down for sure, but protein's going to go up. Just preparing them ahead of time. I always find that protein is one of the hardest things to gain. If you're getting, for me at ectomorph, when I was getting 250 grams of protein, that was tough. But at 300 carbs a day, I was dieting down in my core phase, and that was easy to eat 300 carbs. But if you would have given me more protein, that was difficult. But in that situation, instead of giving more carbs, if you're going to increase food, I'd rather increase protein for ectos. That's just my preference. And then endos or mesos, they can kind of hold more muscle easier, so I tend to keep it a little bit on the lower side.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of people make the mistake with somebody with a slower metabolism, an endomorph. We often think, well, we have to pull their carbs and fat way down, so we'll just shove more protein in that endomorph. And in reality, it's that slower metabolism that means they don't have the protein turnover other people do. So they can really thrive on less, and then give them more carbohydrate, which can keep them, churning forward with better energy levels and just better satiety. So the interesting thing with this is it's really changed in my career so far. 20 years ago, we didn't look quite at those levels of percentages, and a lot of the research that I'm discussing now just wasn't there. So number one, you were kind of relying on that bro science everybody loves to talk about. And it was, you're just kind of pulling numbers out of your ass. It's like, hey, here's 300 grams of protein, here's 400 grams. And, it's almost just like you thought that's what you had to do. And there was some point along the way, maybe halfway through my career, where I had a client that, because of digestive issues, he couldn't eat that much protein. So he asked, is it okay if I only eat 150 grams of protein? I'm like, we can try it. And, the guy got shredded, as best conditions I've been in, because then we were able to use more carbs, which stimulated better workouts, better strong cardio. Yeah. So it really does make a difference if you're looking at, between the high and the low within those studied ranges.
Even using yourself as a case study, you told me the story in grad school where your professor challenged you to keep your protein really low, and you expected to really show him that by keeping it low there was going to be some issues, and you actually gained in body mass. That got me thinking. I've been so focused on the bro science of you need 2 grams of protein per pound, and even coming down off of that, you still kind of have that ingrained dogma of high protein. And like Tyler said, it's just been difficult for me to eat over 250 grams of protein at times. So it's allowed me to lower that number and flourish a little bit more with carbohydrates and fats that may benefit me more through my performance.
Yeah, and just to use that as a little bit more of a case study, right here in the NAMS World Headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, about 2 or 3 years ago, Tyler did an in-body scan on me, and I realized, I hadn't had any kind of body comp done like that in 10 years or so, and it kind of hurt my feelings that you showed me that I lost about 5 pounds. Probably now. Damn. I had lost 5 pounds of lean body mass from my peak as a pro bodybuilder, and I thought, well, it serves me right because I only eat about 100 grams of protein a day, and that was really about 1.5 times the RDA. So I went home, pissed off, and I'm like, I'm going to regain that 5 pounds of lean body mass. All I did was go up to 2 times the RDA, which for me was about 125 to 150 grams of protein. And as a pro, for 15 years, it was nothing for me to be eating 225, 250 grams of protein. So all I did was add about 25 grams of protein, came back 3 months later, and regained that 5 pounds of lean body mass.
I remember you showed me your numbers. I go, are you going to increase your protein yet? And you're like, or something.
But it was just that marginal, just
Yeah.
that little change of getting up to, again, that studied, level. Science actually works.
We've seen thresholds.
Yeah. So let's transition over now to what is really more of the energy continuum with macronutrients, which is that interplay between fat intake and carb